Hi, my name's Phil Rowlands. I'd like to thank you for downloading the software, and I'll have to ask you to excuse my messy screen. Once you've downloaded the software, you should see an icon like this one where I'm pointing the cursor now. It looks like a Cuisenaire Rods staircase. Just double click on it and the software will open, and this is what your software looks like. The screen will probably remind you of your school days, perhaps maths lessons you'd rather forget. It's graph paper, of course. Down the side here we have the colours which represent the rods. If I click on white and right click and move it across, there you see red, light green, pink, yellow, dark green, and so on. So that's all they do. They represent the colours. You can pull as many of the rods onto the screen as you like. So let's look at the top, the icons here on the top. This is the toolbar, and first is on the top left is the manipulator. Now we've designed the software to replicate the use of the rod so that it actually feels like the children are using the rod. So each time they want to move, each time they need to move a rod, they click on the manipulator and they can pull the rods over here as many as they like. Now, say for example they want to flip a rod around, perhaps to make a mast for a pirate ship or whatever. Click on the rotator there, and as you see the rods flip over. It's quite addictive. And flip them right over to through 90 degrees, through 360 degrees. Can get quite addictive, that actually. Now, supposing you want to get rid of some of these, you made a mistake, you would next go to the eraser, and the eraser would actually remove the rods for you. Before you can do anything else, you always have to return to the manipulator. If you forget, of course, you'd be like King Midas, who started turning everything to gold. You'd make everything disappear. So you'd need to go back to the manipulator on the left, and then you can start manipulating the rods again. Okay, so manipulator, rotator, flipper, whatever you want to call it. Eraser, which does exactly what it says in the box, but every time you need to return back to the manipulator once you want to start working with the rods again. This on the end is a group. It's just to help you group the rods so that you can move them about as one. If I right click and drag a square around that little group of rods, I can now place cursor on them. I can move them anywhere I like. Can be quite a useful feature. When you're fed up and you perhaps want to clear the screen, rather than having to delete them one by one, simply go across to this icon here, click on clear, and it asks, do you want to delete everything and start over? Just to make sure you actually do want to do that. You click yes, and the job is done, and we return back to the screen. So let's take a look at the graph paper. You may not always want to have graph paper, so let's go to settings, setup. You can actually change the grid size by going to the top bar here where it says grid size. You can move the little pointer across, press OK, and you see you get a larger grid size. So now what happens when I pull the rods on, they're much bigger. Okay, can be useful if you're working with younger children or younger children want to use the rods. Go back to settings, setup, and you can make the grid smaller. Of course, correspondingly, the rod then will become smaller. Back to settings, setup, and you can do the same for margin size. Let's increase the size of the margin. It's okay, and you see a bigger margin around the edges. You may not want to fiddle with these at all. You may want to keep them the same, or you might want to return them to the default position. If you do, click on the bottom left where it says default. Okay, and you return to the default position. Let's get rid of the rod. Click on rotator. Sorry, wrong one. Eraser, rod, and it's gone. Okay, just do that because otherwise I just end up erasing things. Back to settings, setup, and here's something else you can do. Maybe you don't want any grids in the background. Maybe you want a plain background. Let's say you want to do something, perhaps make an image of something, maybe going through space. Maybe a spaceship going through the black of space. So you want a black background, okay? So we go here to it says colors, canvas background, and we click on black, okay? Click that OK first, and you see the canvas background becomes totally black. I click OK, but you see what happens, we still see the grid lines. Now to get rid of those, let's go back to settings, setup. You have to click on each one of these, the grid separator and the margin. Click on each of these separately, double click, okay, and it'll fill up with the color that you've chosen. And now if I press OK, we have a completely black background, which, you know, can be quite artistic. And at this level of working with the rods, at any level, there's a strong link between art and maths. Strange, doesn't seem, but there is. Okay, I'll just go back to settings, setup, and I'll go back to default. Okay, and that takes me back to where I was in the beginning, and I will clear the screen. All right, so it gives an idea of what you can do with the software. Just as with the rods, there's an infinite number of things you can do, things you can create. And mathematically, there's also an infinite number of concepts you can teach right from preschool through, I suppose, to as high as you want to go, because the rods are just a perfect mathematical model. So let's just look at something else. Initially, when you give the children the rods, you just want them to play with them. And the same with the software. But later on down the line, in the program Child's Play Math, I show a sequential, it's a sequential program of how you can develop math concepts, introduce math concepts to young children, preschool, kindergarten, right through, using the rods. And the first thing you would do is allow the children to play with the rods. So that's all shown in the program if you're interested. So I won't bang on about that, because this software can be used as a standalone. But just to show you this feature, as we develop the program, if I click on Show Letters, click OK. Now, when I pull a rod out this time, it has a letter on it, the letter of the color of the rod. The reason is that when we start to introduce mathematical concepts, it's easier to do it through the medium of letters, of algebra, if you like, before numbers. Algebra before arithmetic was something that Caleb Categno described it as. And the reason we do that is because number is a difficult concept for children. It's far easier to learn mathematical concepts through letter color recognition than it is through number, because number is an abstract concept. For example, if I asked you to go and get me 5, you'd have to say 5 what? Because in and of itself, 5 does not exist. So if we just look at the rods a moment, obviously red is R, white is W, pink or purple is P, yellow is Y, dark green is D, and we have a dark green to differentiate between the light green. Black is B with a lowercase, and we don't call this brown, we call it tan. We call it tan simply because there's a clash with two other rods, initial letters of two other rods, with black and with blue. So we call it T for tan. And with blue, you will see, because it's the larger of the two, we use an uppercase letter for blue. So blue becomes uppercase or capital B. And for orange, that's simply the letters of the rods. And we introduce those during the program. But the first initial steps using the rods or using the software is to allow children to play. Plenty of play. They learn so much through play that we can use to our advantage. So those are the letter names of the rods. Okay, so if I go back to settings, setup, click on show numbers, click off to show, I don't want to show numbers on letters. And click on OK. Now you see instead of the letters, we have the numbers. I just want to emphasize one thing. When we teach math through the medium of the rods, it's not wise to associate a number with a rod. For most of the time, a number, the white will be 1, but we don't want that to be fixed in the child's mind. We want them to be mentally flexible and agile, because at some point we might say, for example, if that was a graph, let me group that in a minute. Can I flip it then? Hope it works now. Oh, I flipped the wrong one, sorry. Okay, if I flip rotate, perhaps it can work. Okay, but let's just imagine this was a graph. And I said I wanted the white to represent 10. Well, 2 would then obviously represent 20, 30, 40. The white could represent anything I liked. If I remove the numbers, a lot of the time we will be using those numbers. But if I remove those numbers and I said to the children, right, if white represents 1, sorry, if red represents 1, which rod represents 2? Now this is a later developmental step in the program. And actually, the answer would be yellow, simply because yellow is worth, I'm sorry, I've got that wrong myself. That's good, isn't it? Take that. I meant pink. Just put a pink over there. Yeah, pink. If red is 1, pink would be 2. But although I made a mistake there, you can see the way that with the rods, it's a matter of trial and error. Children can actually try. There are no such things, Bachelard once said, as first truths, only first errors. So it's quite okay for a child to make a mistake. They use trial and error, and using the rods, they can do that quite scientifically. So which rod now would be 3? If red is 1, pink is 2, which rod would be 3? Have the value of 3. So if we put 3 red rods together, we can see that if I pull the dark green, it would be the dark green that would be 3. Now some children look at this and say, well, okay, I can see it, I can see that, but what about the white? What about the light green and the pink? What do they become? And you're introducing now a concept of numbers between numbers, or if you like, fractions. But that's much later, a much later development. Initially, we just want children to use the rods, to enjoy them, to have fun with them. Okay, let's go back to setup. Let's go back to default, and let's clear my screen. Yes, I clear everything off there. So I hope you can see that the software, you can use it as a standalone. You may already be using Cuisenaire Rods, but this app, children can use. They can save what they've done, and just basically have fun with it. If you are interested in the program Child's Play Maths, it is a program of 28 sequential units, and Maths Play 2 will be out shortly. It takes children right through the introduces the early stages of mathematical concepts, and Child's Play 2 will go through to perhaps what we would recognize as the more formal aspects of math, but done through fun, done through open-ended activities and a sequential approach, but yet with plenty of room for the child's individuality. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking with me for so long. I hope I'm not too long-winded, and I hope you enjoy the software. Hope to see you again soon. I will be making some more video tutorials, so I hope you'll sit in and take a look at that. Okay, thank you very much.